When it comes to my biggest pet peeve of the modern NBA and a lot of these superstar players, is that these guys in this era can't take a loss on their chin. When they lose, it's always their ref's fault, their teammates' fault, or some non-call, some late call that was not in their favor.
I don't understand what's going on in the replay center, to be honest. I think I said it this year or last year, whatever. D'Lo clearly gets hit in the face on a drive. Replay center is going to go. It doesn't make sense to me.
And throughout a 48-minute basketball game in the playoffs, the finals, of course, there's going to be bad calls and missed calls. That always happens. And two of the biggest complainers, excuse makers, and whiners in the league today are LeBron James and Joel Embiid.
Forget about the timeout. There's a bunch of fouls. Like I said, that's unacceptable.
And looking at LeBron first, the word that comes to mind is hypocrite. As remember early in the year when Lakers had a massive free throw advantage versus the Raptors, 23-2 in the fourth quarter. What was LeBron's response to that awful differential and the awful calls in the fourth?
I felt like they fouled and we didn't.
Reeves and a late whistle. Weak side, Christie, and now a foul.
I felt like they fouled and we didn't.
So that right there is LeBron James when the refs and the whistle are in his favor. He has no objections, no nothing. It's just simply, they fouled, we didn't. Nothing more to see here, look away. Now contrasting that clip when the referees don't give him every call, every whistle. Throws a fit, pouts after games, and just quite frankly, acts like a sore loser.
And the game is over. Lakers furious, they thought he was fouled. Excuse me, and it's now overtime.
LeBron James being a massive hypocrite, I mean, it's nothing new. But this right here just so blatant on display for every fan to see. And when it comes to all-time great NBA legends, stuff like this should be beneath you. But for LeBron James, unfortunately, even in year 21, it simply isn't. And looking at Game 2 versus Denver, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and D'Lo, they were just outraged beside themselves at a missed call and a non-call in the third quarter. And look, this call, it's a bad call straight up. But this one call didn't lose you the game. If we want to play the game of bad calls, missed calls, non-calls, I can find probably just 20 calls last night in the Lakers' favor that shouldn't have been, and in Denver's favor that shouldn't have been. I mean, it goes both ways. But when it comes to Lakers and LeBron James, this team's overall persona and attitude, it just reeks of being entitled. And funny enough, this Game 2 versus Denver, out of the last 10 meetings, was the one time Denver had an advantage in free throws. And looking at the past 10 games, LA versus Denver, a total of 192 attempts at the free throw line. Denver, only 130. And looking past the Nuggets versus Lakers matchup and the overall differential for the entire league, the past 2 years including the playoffs, the Lakers are a plus 1,113. Second place, the Knicks, not even 400. The Magic, barely plus 350. The Bucks, plus 310. And Boston, plus 295. For LeBron James Lakers to complain about an unfair whistle is just peak comedy and so ironic. And if you want to talk about free throws, LeBron in the fourth quarter late had an and one bucket that afterwards he missed the free throw. Now this one free throw, 1 point, in the large scheme of things, was highly significant. And if you want to talk things you can control versus not control, making your free throws is one thing you 100% can control. When you're at the line by yourself, the referees can't make you miss. Late in the game for a three-pointer, when you're wide open, the referees didn't make you miss. And to contrast LeBron James acting like a spoiled child, look at Michael Jordan back in 1998. In Game 6 versus the Pacers in Indiana, Reggie Miller just shoved Jordan, which led to a game-winning three-pointer to force a Game 7. Now Jordan, in the aftermath of that shot, he didn't whine, complain to the referees, and get on all fours. Instead, Jordan took it on his chin in a post-game press conference, guaranteed the Bulls would win Game 7, which they did.
It's just his third Game 7.
But MJ offers assurances that the dynasty will not end here tonight.
We're going to win Game 7.
Of course, LeBron James is an all-time great player, multi-time champion, and future Hall of Famer. But when it comes to his overall attitude and entitlement, kind of begging for things, whining for things, after 21 years, it's gotten kind of old. And unlike Jordan, LeBron, his entire career, very quick to point the finger outward instead of inward. And looking at his sycophants in the media, a Nick Wright, a Shannon Sharp, guys of that ilk, these guys after Game 2, very reluctant to call LeBron James for his missed three and blatant blunders. Now, looking past the media, we have Joel Embiid, who, much like LeBron James, is an excuse maker and a notorious playoff choker. And Embiid this year versus the Knicks, I mean, after Game 1, I was going to give him some slack, he's injured, obviously playing hurt. But the Game 2 collapse, followed by his post-game comments. I mean, this dude has to be held accountable.
Yes, we did. I mean, everybody on the floor was trying to call a timeout, myself including Nico, coach on the sideline. But they didn't give it to us. But, forget about the timeout. There's a bunch of fouls. Like I said, that's unacceptable.
Instead of Embiid owning his bad fourth quarter play, not boxing out, missing crucial shots, having pretty bad turnovers, what did this guy do? Blame the refs for one singular non-call. And looking at that play, was Maxey fouled, was he not? I mean, 50-50. Did Nick Nurse get the timeout in? It's up for debate. You can talk about this all day long till you're blue in the face. And I could look back a minute prior to that play, looking at Kyle Lowry blatantly foul DiVincenzo and not be called even upon review. You can nitpick fouls here and there, the first minute, the last minute, that change the outcome of the game. But the point remains, control what you can control. Now looking at Embiid's fourth quarter play versus the first three quarters, I mean, pretty glaring. First three quarters, 29 points, 10-23 shooting, 1 turnover. The fourth quarter, 5 points, 2 of 6 shooting, 1 turnover. Now looking at Game 1, virtually the same thing. First three quarters, playing great, 23 points, only 2 turnovers. The fourth quarter, 6 points and 0 of 5 shooting. In these first two games versus the Knicks, Embiid is shooting 2 of 11 in the fourth quarter. As a quote-unquote MVP all-time great player, Joel has not showed up. And if you want to say he's injured, he's hurt, I mean, fine, go ahead and say that. But the point remains, throughout Joel's entire career, during the regular season, a dominant force of nature. But in the playoffs, either one, he's injured, or choking in the fourth quarter. I mean, look at last year versus Boston. His fourth quarter play was absolutely atrocious. Points per game, 3.6. It ranked 26 among players in the second round. From the field, only 40%, and had a plus-minus of negative 3.4, the 7th worst of the second round. Compare those numbers to Jason Tatum. In the fourth quarter, Tatum, 8.2 points per game, ranked second for the round. Shooting splits, 52% from the field, 50% from 3, and nearly 80% from the line, with a plus-minus that ranked 7th for the second round. And going one step further, adding more context, Philly being up 3-2 in this series, heading into the fourth quarter at home. In that fourth quarter and in Game 7, Jason Tatum, a total of nearly 70 points on above 50% shooting. Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter and Game 7 only had 21 points on 33% shooting with 4 turnovers. The history of playoff Embiid is pretty cut and dry. In the first quarter, second quarter, even third quarter, he's lights out. But in the fourth quarter, for some odd reason, this dude just goes ice cold, a turnover machine, who is unproductive and borderline inept. And I do find it pretty fascinating, both Embiid and LeBron James, they're down 0-2 in their series, they're blaming the referees, and they're playing awful in the fourth quarter. And looking at someone like Nick Wright regarding these three players, the Joker, LeBron, and Embiid, compared to myself, was the opposite end of all these takes. As for years, downplayed the Joker, said Embiid was better. And for LeBron's Lakers, every time they met Denver, this guy picked the Lakers to upset the Nuggets. If you don't believe in basketball karma or the basketball gods, I think Nick Wright is literal proof. When you lie for a living, spew awful narratives, things in the end come back to bite you in the butt, whether you expect it or not. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.